Welcome to Logos Bible Software Tutorials. If you're like most people, the reason why you purchased it is because you want to study the Bible or you want more tools at your disposal. But what you must understand is that Logos has been around for a very long time. My encounter with it came in 1997, and it was around a lot longer before that. So just keep that in mind. Logos has probably a variety of different ways to do the same thing. Logos is always coming out with new ways to do the same old thing. Sometimes it's better, sometimes it's not. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to get into studying your Bible, how to study your Bible with Logos. And let's get into it. Screen on Logos. Yours might look a little bit different, but we see a lot of things here that you see your dashboard. This is what you used to starting, and I've never really liked the dashboard at all. So we're just gonna close that out. Here's your library. I have 13,000 resources. I don't even use. I probably may use a tenth of those. But we're going to come down here. So we have our tools down here, but we're going to go to here, guides and workflows. I said that Logos has been around a while. There was a dramatic shift in Logos, probably in version 4 is when it looks more like this. 3, it looks completely different than this, and 2 is even less. But when it comes to studying your Bible, you want to go into the workflows. This was added probably, I want to say the workflows were probably added into version 8 or 9. So we're just going to come here, a basic Bible study. Now, that you have to put in your passage. And the passage that we're going to do, we're going to do Luke 1:1-4. So it gives you everything that you need to study the Bible. So what happens here? So you have this, and it goes through, that's your observations. What observations do you have? What's important? So let's just say, I'm going to say, hey, I want to know, in as much as many have undertaken, who are the many? So if who are the many? Now, what Logos does is it saves it into a note file. So you're gonna open up this note file. It has an anchor. Here's what I recommend. If you're gonna do the workflow, if that's what you're gonna do, then tag it. Tag this so it's easily searchable. And let's just say Luke Bible Study. That is what I'm going to name it. So I'm going to click here. So now that I have my questions there, or what you can do, let's close that out. We're going to call this Luke Bible Study : observation. So when I search, boom, and if I'm able to, and then what's going to happen is that I'm going to search. So when I search this, I'm going to be able to find it. So anything I put in here is going to be in this note. So this is the very basic one of that, the observation, what's going to happen. Now that I'm going on the next video, I'm going to talk about this part 2. Have a great day. Thank you for joining Logos Bible Software Tutorials, and we are continuing on with going through the workflows and seeing how that can help us with our Bible study. Let's get at it. Welcome. So as you can see, I have my blank screen. I don't have anything pulled up. So and I do this so that then if you come to this video that you know that what we do, that you can do the same thing that I do. So we're gonna go into here, and our one that we had picked from was the basic Bible study. We're gonna click on that, and what you're gonna see when I type in my Luke 1:1-4, that's the one that we did. Now, my notes are still there. So here's my notes. It saves this. So every time that you do a specific one, so let me just see. So it's and what we see is this is a different one altogether. So you have to be careful. So even if you get one verse wrong, you have. But when I go back to the 4, it saves this as its own. In programming language, this is what we would call its own instance. So it creates a specific file that gets everything matched here. Okay. So our next step is read the passages in other translations. Now, this is extremely helpful. And if you want to show that you're done with this, so when we're done, then it's going to have a blue dot there. So, going back to reading from other translations, this is extremely helpful if you don't know Greek or Hebrew. This is going to be something so important. So it gives you a little bit of note here, and it gives you a tool. So just so you know, I have the tool, or then I have this resource here. Some of you may not have it. So if I click it, I can read, and this is from Gordon Fee and Douglas Stewart's book, How to Read the Bible for All It's Worth. It is one of my favorites. So, and if you want to reread that you can. But we're going to close that out. Now, what it's going to do is going to pull up a resource that you can use to compare Bible versions. It's called text comparison. You click this, and the text comparison is going to automatically populate. Now, I like this one. I like the ESV. I like the Lexham English, the NIV, the NLT. I don't like this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here, and I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to unclick. And what you're going to see is that it's gone. So say, for instance, I wanted to also compare one that's not here. So I don't use the King James. But if I wanted to, then I could add it right there. If I wanted to have the NAS, or let's do the NIV, and let's do the 84 edition, because I want it. Right here, the NIV 84. So we have this. So we're gonna click here, and here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna click on the NIV, put it right before here. So now that the NIV is moved differently, so you can move all these around. We're going to click on here, and we're also going to also want the NASB. Let's go with the 2020. So this gives you Luke, we're just going to go with Luke 1. So this gives you, okay, so here's the first, so how this works. It takes the first version and it compares that to every other version. So say for example that I wanted to switch this around. Say I wanted to have the NASB at the very front. Now it's going to happen. It's going to show you that the difference between the NASB and every other version going forward. And this makes perfect sense because the NASB, more than any other translation, is as about literal translation as you can get. But say for instance that I just want to, so if I wanted to shift and say I wanted the just say I wanted the NIV 84. I wanted that to be first, and that so that's going to compare everyone. So what you're seeing is a different percentage of differences based on the first version. You got to keep that that's very, very important. Is that, and then it's going for word. It's not so it's just saying, oh, okay, this is this amount of percentage of differences, and then it's just taking it word for word. If I wanted to do the King James, boom, and it shows you the difference, and now it's going to, so I want to go back to verse 1. It shows that the amount of difference it is from the King James. But since I use the ESV, we're going to take the ESV first. All right. So here's what you want to look for. I want to look for words that are different. So say for instance, the King James is just gonna make this a little bit. So here's the thing. We have a 50%. So we have a 35%, 29, 41. So I want to see what words are different. So the ESV says, "In as much as many have undertaken," boom. That's the word. So I'm now going to come in. Does it use the same word here? Many have undertaken. It uses the same word. It uses the same word in NASB 85. But in the Lexham English Bible, it says attempted. In the NIV, it says, of course, undertaken. In the NLT, it says many have set out. So there's a little bit of a difference. There's almost a new nuance here that can occur, but doesn't necessarily always do. So in one sense, in a large amount, so 1, 2, 3, in 4 of the 6 versions, it uses the same word. It uses the exact same word.
At least you're going to have 30 minutes.
So that's about a 66%. So, but I'm going to still go over here, and I'm going to type in, what does undertaken mean? And what type of verb is it? So this is going to help me in understanding this little, that the new nuance that may be occurring, because there is a slight difference between something I am undertaken and something that I attempted. It gives the impression of it's something that's not complete yet. At least the attempted comes across in the Lexham English Bible as something that I have not completed. Next, look at the next word, to compile. To compile a narrative of things that have been accomplished. So there's the word compile here, draw up, compile, to compile, to draw up, and to write. So I think it's fair to say that draw up and to write really convey the same thing, but there does seem to be a split amongst translations between the usage of compile and to write up. And I need to know, is there really anything here that I may need to understand about this passage? So I'm going to say the same thing that I said to the previous word. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to copy it because I want to do the same thing. I want to do the exact same thing. They're making this hard for me. All right. So I'm just going to copy this because I know the and to undertake. So these are things that I want to understand about, and this is, and what I also do is I also tell myself what verse. So this is in verse 1. This is in verse 1. And when you have a whole list of questions, having the exact verse does really help. It really helps there. So we're going to go back. So I will say this just because I'm studied this passage and I know a little bit about how these how things are translated in the English. To compile is probably a infinitive. 9 times out of 10 is the infinitive. So you're going to have to look on special circumstances on does the infinitive have a special circumstance here? So it has so this gives you a basic. So I'm just walking through here and trying to find the differences from each translation, and trying to have the best understanding. Now, once again, if you know Greek and Hebrew, then you're probably not going to need to do this. I hope that was helpful. You have a great day. Welcome to Logos Bible Software Tutorials, and today we are getting into the third part of the Bible study workflow, and we are going to get into biblical people. Let's get at it. Let's go and look at the biblical people in our passage and the workflow in particular. Here we are in our clear Logos Bible software. We're going to go and we're going to look for our workflow, which is going to be right here, basic Bible study. And we're going to put in our passage.
Started to do
We're going to put in Luke
these
1:1-4.
started to do lives of videos that I've done.
And what we're going to see, all our stuff is kept. So it keeps it in a no-node file and it assigns it specifically to this passage. Now, if I were to change, then what we would see is nothing. So it's important that the particular passage, verse, the book, the chapter, as well as your verses are all the same. So we are now in this number 3, and it identifies people in your passage. So it's going to bring up all the people that it talks about in your passage. And it brings up the biblical people. And if I want to, I can expand this out. And it only lists the biblical people. Next, that it gives you a little bit of an explanation of the desired outcomes that you should have. That an explanation of the biblical people. And if you're new, this is very, very helpful. Next, that it gives you a little bit of an explanation of the desired outcomes that you should have. All right. So we're now here at 3. So this biblical people, so it lists that Theophilus is mentioned, that the disciples are mentioned, and Luke is also mentioned in our passage. It also has a servant, a person, show all. So here's what is important that I want you to know. So you might be wondering, where are you getting this? So what they're doing, they're taking the passage guide, the information from the passage guide, and particularly that the information that is being pulled here is, so you might be wondering, where are you getting this? Right here at the biblical people. Let me make this a little bit bigger. So up here, if you ever want to change the font of a passage, you just click on the 3 dots, and I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so we can see. So it's pulling from this section in the passage guide called Biblical People. That the exact same thing in the workflow is also here. Hey, how's it going? Chris Pratt here. It's pulling from everything. So this is the information that it is pulling from. It's pulling from Luke. So everything that gets populated here, it's going to put it in here. What's important? So, what's also important, because sometimes it's got these people here, and what I like to do is I'm going to click on this tab, and I'm going to bring up my English Standard Version because that's the Bible I use the most, and So one is that we can tell that the Theophilus is mentioned here, right? Here. We know Luke is mentioned. Because we know that Luke is the writer here. So it seemed good to me, having followed all things closely, to write an orderly account. So this is where they're pulling from the Luke. Now, you might be wondering, well, where are the disciples mentioned? One thing that you'll see is when you open up the commentaries and what the scholars have said, the many have undertaken, as well as, so some would say that the many have undertaken are the disciples. Some all, and also, just as those who were from the beginning were eyewitnesses and ministered of the word have delivered them to us, that's also the disciples. Some would say that the many have undertaken is a different group than those who hear. Just to put this out here, this is where they're pulling from the biblical people. So they're all mentioned in our text, and they just do the work for you. Because I'm a huge proponent of you doing your own work and you just going through it. When you pull up this biblical people, pull your favorite Bible version on the side so that you can see it. So in our passage, Theophilus is mentioned in Luke 3 through 4, and that is true. Pastors from around the country came to learn it. Conferences filled. Training spread. The disciples are mentioned in verses 1 and 2. What this tells us is that Logos Bible Software sees the many have undertaken, and those who are from the beginning were eyewitnesses. They're seeing both of these as disciples. And then a lot of commentaries would say that. Now, Luke, it talks about, it's in verse 3 here, where it says, it seemed good to me also. Now, there's a servant, so where he says, just as those who were eyewitnesses and ministers of the word, this word ministers is can be seen as a servant. It does use, we'll say this, is that it does use a different word. So normally the word for the Greek word for servant or ministers is diakonos. It uses a different word here, and there's a reason why, and when you go into your word study, that you can find that out. A person, so they're saying that a person is in verse 4, and that would be the many who have undertaken. So, in here, that you're going to talk about, who are the main players? So, who is the main player in this entire passage, and who are sub players. So I think the main player here is Theophilus. Theophilus. And he's one of the main players because it's he who he is writing to. I think that another main player is Luke here, because he's writing the gospel here. And when I'm talking about a main player, it's the focal point. And we can also say that the sub we can say the sub players or the subordinate players. I don't like that, but other players. Is the disciples. Who he consulted about the account. And who were. That's important because when you read into the commentary, that part of a historical account in that time is that you had to have an eyewitness account. So I hope that this is helpful. So this is going to be into a note file. So I can open this note. So, and this goes in, this is everything in our note. And if I want to tag this, so say for instance that if I wanted to tag this, so I've already tagged this as Luke Bible Study Observation. Luke. So I'm going to tag that there, and I'm also going to tag that there. So that I can pull up all of my observations. Let me just show you this. So if I wanted, so I'm going to close all this out. And I'm going to go into my search. And close that out. I'm going to go into my notes. And when I come here, I'm going to search for my specific Luke Bible Study. So when I'm going to So when I come in here, and it's here, it's my very first thing. It gives me this note.
I don't know. Okay, we're recording.
and that's right here. So when I click on that, this gives me my everything from my basic Bible study. I'm going to go in here, and then when I click on here, boom, it pulls me back to my passage. So it pulls me here, and I have this right here. I hope that was helpful. I hope that helps you to understand a little bit what's going on with this with this here in the workflow. Have a great day.
And then we're just going to get into it because there's a lot to cover. So, notes first clippings.
Welcome to Logos Bible Software Tutorials, and today we are continuing on to the Passage Guide, Part 4. Let's get at it. Here we are. We are at a blank screen. As you know, I always start with a blank screen so you know exactly how to do exactly what we need to do. So, we're going to come over here. We're going to go into guides, and we're going to click on there's a couple ways. So either one that it's already here, or that you can so you can come into here. You can go into started workflows. You can go down here and do basic Bible study, or that you can search it. So we're coming in here, we're going to type in our passage, Luke 1:1-4, and we're going to see this. We're going to see this populate. And we are right here at a number 4, identify important cross references. Now what we've seen is when it comes to the workflow, it's really pulling stuff from the passage guide as well as the passage guide as well as the exegetical guide. So when we're going to come over here to guides, and we're going to go into passage guide, and our passage is already there. But what you'll find is this part number 4 is the same thing of important passages. So if you look these side by side, they are the same thing. So all it's doing, it's pulling the stuff from the passage guide here on the important passages, and it's putting it in here. And the great thing about the workflow is that if all you wanted to do was to just see the important passages, then you can click this box here, and it's going to create the screen. So, and then as normally that they have a small description, and they also have that the desired outcomes, or the reason why this is here. So now, and then it also has this book by Kaiser and Sylvia, the introduction to the biblical hermeneutics. So that if you want to learn more about this and the significance of this, you can research those books. So now we're coming in here. So, the important passages. It's one thing that we can see from the first references. So you can either have all passages. So it's by default it's by rank. Now when you expand this out in its own tab, that you can filter this out by type. So and if that is not so, then that's an option for you. But by rank is how it comes by default, and how it's gonna come in your basic Bible study workflow. So what's it's doing? So it would make sense why Act 1 and 1. So it's pulling up all the important passages in the Bible that have something in common with your passage of Luke 1:1-4. So in here, that it's because it mentions Theophilus. This is the only other place in Acts 1:1 where that Theophilus is mentioned. And in Acts 26:25, because also in that passage, so in our passage it says most excellent Theophilus. So here that it's pulling up a similar passage of most an excellent Festus. So if you want to see some comparison, so it's really pulling up of that phrase most excellent here that we see in these passages. So you can go through here. It's pulling from the lexicons. It's also pulling up from a similar lemmas. And just for clarification, lemma, although they're different, they're very similar to a root. So your lemma would be your lexical form of the word. So if I was to look this word in the lexicon, I would look for the lemma. So it pulls up all of the important passages that are related to your passage. But let me just caution you here is because of the observation step that you want to hold your observation. So you want to come to this with some questions or something that you're trying to figure out. So, and down here that you can write the various observations. Now here's what I would recommend. So I already have this out, so I'm going to go verse by verse and trying to figure out, okay, because I want to know why this is relevant in the passage. So say, for instance, in our passage, if I were to pull up our passage, and that's also none other something helpful to always pull out the passage so that you see it side by side. So in this case, that you're having the most excellent. So here in verse 3, this would be probably clause A, B, C. So in clause C of verse 3 that you have this. So it's really pulling from this phrase, most excellent Theophilus. What may be helpful is if you just pull this down here, and so that you have access to all of your screens. You have access to all of your screens. If this is and this is something that you may find more helpful. So we have this here, and we have our first passage, and we have to write our notes. I'm just going to write it. So this idea of the most excellent Theophilus, and as we talked before, Theophilus is the combination of two Greek words. They are not that, and Philo, which means God's friend. So here's what we're gonna do. Where we're gonna say, okay, this is Acts 1:1. Let's we're gonna put this Acts 1:1. And what we're going to see here is this is going to populate into a note file. This is going to be saved into a note file. So we're going to drag this over so we can see it a little bit better. So it's taking the same thing. So what you might want to do is, if you've named this, and we have done an observation, so we call this loop. Right here, it's already clicked, and that's going to populate into a tag. So when I want to search for this, whether it's in my library or even that I can search this function. And you would go through each one of these passages and find and put so in here that I would list each one of these passages. So I would say my most excellent Theophilus, and I'm going to list all the. So what else? So I would also list Acts 26:25. So, and I would go through each one of these, and that's why it's helpful to really to have all these three screens. So you one on the on the upper left-hand corner here that we have the workflow, and the extended of the important passages is on the upper right-hand corner, and then on the lower part is our Bible, so that we are saving time, because that's the whole thing with Logos, is we're all about saving time here. And that I can navigate through this, and I can navigate through my passage and write down my observations. And I would write all those down. And for the second thing is asking this nice question: which cross-references are most important for your passage? So wherever you feel the Lord leading you, so there's what the interpretation is, and that is what the author meant for the original audience. That is the interpretation. I want you to remember this. Interpretations are always narrow. It's very specific with the text. But the application, what does this passage means to me? And it's only as I understand what the passage meant for the original audience can I rightly apply it to myself. And we're just not putting down everything, but we're being specific here to what passages are most important for your passage. And you'll get into this into another video, but really I am identifying the big idea, what the passage is about, and in a very simple way, that the big idea is in one sentence. Tell me what this passage is about. So you would write these observations here. I hope that was helpful as we navigate through this basic Bible study workflow and showing you how to use it for its most potential. Hope you have a great day. Welcome to Logos Bible Software Tutorials, and today, part 5 in the workflow of the Bible study workflow. We are going to dive into summarizing. This video, I don't know, it may be longer because there's a lot of things I want to cover when it comes to summarizing a passage. Let's get at it. Here we are. Part 5, where we're going to go down to our workflows, and we've already done this right here, the basic Bible study. And we're going to go into Luke 1:1-4, and it's going to populate exactly with what we've done thus far. So everything that we go in here, it's shared, saves it here. So we're going to minimize all this, and we're in 5. Now, when it comes to, we are going to summarize the passage. I'm going to show you some tools that you have in Logos to help you to summarize. So, and with everything, it gives you an explanation of the desired outcome that you should have. Here's what I recommend. So here, although tools are going to help us, that we need to always do our own work. So the tools are there to help us. Let me minimize this out. So we're gonna close this out. So we aren't going to use it. So the tools are a guide, a check. They don't do our work. So what I recommend, you summarize this passage of what you think this passage is doing, and I want you to write it down right here. That is what you would put right here about your observations. Now, once you have your summary and once you've written everything down, what you're going to come now here over here is into search. And it's very important that you click on all. So here what we're going to do, we're going to type summarize Luke 1:1-4. That is what we want. So when we come here, we click search and we're going to click on the synopsis. So once I have exactly what I want, I'm going to click on the synopsis right here. And it gives me what we see here is it kind of goes into a whole lot of things more than so. You have to be very specific here, and you have to type in the verse. So this is only going to summarize. It's only going to summarize verses 1:1-4. That's all it's going to do. So this is a bit more, but it gives you an explanation of the passage. Now, you might be saying, well, I can come over here and I could go into tools and I can summarize. Now, for whatever reason, Logos, it only, when you click it under here, it only does the chapter. So it's going to give you everything in that chapter. It does not summarize the passage. Just keep that in mind. So some people may find it hard to summarize this. What are the core components? I think when it comes to summarizing and I'm outlining your passage at some levels, it's almost those things are you cannot separate them. So you've got some tools here at your disposal. So when we click formatting, so we're going to click on formatting and we're going to click on reformat. We're going to click on this right here. There are two features I want to show you. One is the discourse features. So there is documentation in the Lexham discourse analysis. You would have to come into your library, Lexham discourse, and you're looking for the documentation. If you get into this right here, this will tell you, or you can even come into here, and this will give you the philosophy behind Stephen Runge's philosophy behind discourse. If you're going to use this, it's wise to understand where he's coming from and how to use this to the best of your ability. The other feature that you can use is the propositional outline. Now, what the propositional outline does, it breaks down your passage into various propositions, and that the indentation shows the hierarchy. So it sees, so in here, verses 1 and 2 are one unit. Verses 3 and 4 are one unit. This can help you to be able to break this down, to synthesize this in ways that are clear and concise. Now, I'll also mention that just because, as we say, there's two units, how I display those units into what the text is going to be offering is also another thing. If you have this resource, especially within the Greek and or Hebrew, I would consult the Lexham Discourse, Greek New Testament. So one thing that it has a breakdown of these various terms. Whereas if I looked into the ESV, and let's say I'm going to go to reformatting, I want to go into the discourse features, it also has it there as well. So if I hover over here, it's going to give you an explanation of what this is. And so it's going to give you an explanation of everything, of what each term is, read into, and basically how this works is that the things that are indented are subordinate. The things that are indented are subordinate. So this would be the main thought here in clause 1. And so this would be that the independent clause. And verse 2 would be the subordinate clause. One thing that you'll, and as I've said, that that there's you have to do your own critical thinking here. So so here's how I would break this passage up. Verses 1 and 2 would be very simply that the situation of Luke's writing. So right here is explaining the sin, and that situation is this. Many people had wrote about Jesus's life, and the ones who wrote, and they were eyewitnesses and ministers. So in right here, I'm just going to write many people wrote about Jesus' life. And I'm going to put verses 1 and 2. Now, number 3 would be describing how he wrote it. How and who. So verses 2, verses 3 is really talking about how he wrote it and to who. So Luke, after observing everything, wrote a detailed account for Theophilus. Now in verse 4, although verse 4 is a subpoint, it's actually you can, from the presentation perspective, Luke writes so that Theophilus would have certainty of the gospel. Now, this is really what we would call the background. I may include this into my message, but if I was to summarize this, I would just use points 2 and 3. Luke, after observing everything about Jesus' life, writes a detailed account for Theophilus, so he would be certain about the gospel. This is what we would have in our summary. Luke, after observing everything about Jesus' life, writes a detailed account about Theophilus. I could also put, just so I know here, verses 2, this would be in verse 3, so he would be certain about the gospel in verse 4. If I were teaching this, I might, in a textual introduction, I would talk about verse 1 and 2. But the main point is really in verses 3 and 4. Now, when I click this, I can open the notes, and I can, in my tags, I can tag this as Luke's observation, so that when I search it in here, it's all going to be in the observation. So as you see here is that, and if I were to click here, that would give me this is where, and it creates a note for you. I hope that was helpful. Hope that was encouraging. You have a wonderful day learning how to summarize your passage. Welcome to Logos Bible Software Tutorials, and today we are going over part 5 of the Bible study workflow. I'm going to go through it. I'm going to go through how to use the commentary section. Let's get at it. All right, here we are at the Bible at our screen, and we are blank. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to go into the workflows, go into the Bible study workflow. We're going to type in our passage. And what we're going to see is that it's going to bring up the stuff that we've already done. So in programming, it basically creates what's called as an instance. So it just saves what you've done, so you don't have to recreate everything over. So we'll see all this information. Now we're down here. We've already done the summarize our passage, and now we're going to review the commentaries. So as normal, it has this more where that it describes your desired outcomes and an explanation. What's important here is that it has this box so you can make it bigger. Now, you can change the types of stuff that you see here, but what I want you to see that you cannot change it here. I cannot change this at all. I'm stuck with what I have here. So I want to go through each one. So the first one that it gives is the priority. So this is commentaries that you normally go to. that are your go-tos. This is what's going to list right here. Next, it's going to list commentary by series. This one right here are those commentaries that are not marked in a quote-unquote series. Like say, for instance, it has the Bible Guide. If I were to point this out, that it's marked as a commentary, but not quote unquote within a series per se. Here are all of the series of your commentaries. Now, it doesn't list by any priority. It rather lists it in alphabetical order. And it just lists them. Next, you go to the author, and it lists the commentaries by author in alphabetical order. Next, it lists them by denomination. So if you go in, so if you're looking for a certain tradition, it's going to list this. For example, it's got the Anglican. So anytime that it is by a quote unquote an Anglican author, that this is tagged. But what you're going to see is so like here, that the word biblical commentary, just because that that Luke is tagged as an Anglican doesn't mean that every single word biblical commentary is going to be tagged as Anglican. Only those where the author holds that type of viewpoint. It's the same thing as Baptist. Next, we got the type. So, let me drag this over so we can really get into, and I can go through this. So, the type, it lists what kind of commentaries it is. Whether it's an application commentary, whether it's a Bible notes. This is really helpful is if you are getting into diagramming, syntax, and that sort of thing. A devotional commentary. Now, in my opinion, there's really not much difference between an application and devotional. So we see the Warren Wiersbe set. It's under both. So some of these commentaries are going to be the same thing in that the application as well as the devotional. An exegetical. In an exegetical commentary, they're running through verse by verse. These are going to be your more technical. These are going to be your more technical commentaries. It's going to run verse by verse. So you're going to have things like the BEC&T, the New American Commentary, the Pillar New Testament Commentary, Word Biblical Commentary, International Critical Commentary, the Tyndale New Testament Commentary. So all these are going to be exegetical. Expositional. So an expositional as well as a homiletical are really very similar. So these commentaries are going to function more like sermons. So it's going to give you your main points and a little bit of exposition. It's not going to be very critical at all. So you might not get into Greek or the Hebrew or the word. A study Bible. This is extremely nice. This is fantastic because what it does, it takes all of your study Bible notes and puts it in one area. So, and a lot of base packages come with study Bibles. And if you don't have a lot of commentaries, this is a wonderful tool. really the Net Bible gets into a lot of critical stuff. It gets into a lot. So this is one that I will often use when I'm going through the Greek. Spurgeon study notes. These are all great. And click more, and it pulls up all of your study Bibles. Next, theological. These have more of a theological bent to them, that they're going to get into more theology of the text. Next, you have a tab called I am the era. So, if you're looking for certain commentaries in certain areas, so this goes more in that you want to see that the historical prominence of a particular passage. How did the church over time view this passage? So, say for instance, I am in the book of Thessalonians, and I am, and then I want to see what is the historical nature of dispensational premillennialism. So this could help you in understanding that. So this could tell you where how the early church and the medieval church and the Reformation all viewed that passage in 1st or 2nd Thessalonians. Let's drag this over. So I had created earlier a commentary set just for the passage guide. And the reason why I created this, because I wanted a commentary that will give me more big picture stuff. So I'm just going to have, and I'm just going to highlight some of these and why they're in there. This commentary here, I love. This is going to give you your big picture stuff. So when I come into this commentary, here, it's going to give me the main idea as well as the supporting idea. So when I come up with this main idea and I want to double check to make sure that my idea is lining up with what the scholars have to say, I'm going to go to this. This is one commentary that does it. There is another commentary. Let's go into this IVP. So it's going to give you a overall, and then is going to get into the details of the passage. So this is also going to give you that big picture idea that you are looking for, because that's what we want to do first. That we want to determine what's the big idea. What's the big idea? What is this passage fundamentally about? And we want to be able to say the big idea probably in one sentence. If you cannot say your passage in one sentence, what it means, then you don't understand your passage. Now, here's another one. That the TNT is going to also do this, where it starts here in this part right here off of the big idea, and then it gets into the verse. So this will go into verse 1, verse 2. Next, we're going to go into this commentary set. This is the Message Bible. I mean the Message commentary. Let me double check that. This is, yeah, the Message of Luke. That it's a that the editor is John Stott here. So what it's going to do is it's going to start in this first section of giving you that big idea. What overall, what is this passage about? And then it goes more into more like a sermon. So here's going to talk about in verse 1. So he's going to get into the overview. He's going to get into verse 2 right here. Verse 1. So because this is more like a sermon, that he's not doing it in an expositional form. So just keep that in mind. And all these commentaries are meant to give you big picture ideas, big picture stuff. Another commentary that I use quite frequently when I'm trying to is the IVP background commentary. This commentary is meant to give you cultural nuances of words as well as meanings. So in verse 1-2, he talks about handed down here and what that meant historically. My main point that I'm trying to do is, but I'm just not going to this commentary. So I have created a set of notes. I have created a note file of questions that I have. So it's all right here. So what I'm doing is I'm forming up my main big idea, and I want to reference that with what the authors are saying. So from here, we have this, and I get onto what it says, and here's the commentary in Broadman. It's the same here, but I'm taking my questions and my questions and comparing that to what the scholars say. So I have this: what does have been accomplished mean? Well, I pulled this from the Broadman commentary. Now, here's the thing, that because these commentaries are more big picture ideas that you're not going to get, you're not always going to have every question. So anything that you don't, that you might need to go to more of a exegeticals. So I'm moving on, and when I'm done, I'm going to come into here, and I'm going to post those things that I found here. I'm going to post them here, and I'm going to post these right here as well. It's important that when you're using this commentary section is once again that you have a plan. I'm just not reading a whole bunch of stuff. I'm trying to figure out the answers to my questions. I hope that this was helpful. I hope that this helps you to understand how to use this and how to use this section. Have a wonderful day.